What time is it?
8:22.
Now, what we do is always... What's happening now?
I've got to get back to...
Just start a new one, we'll join them.
Okay.
Whenever something like that happens, say it's 8:22, well, what's 8:23 or whatever? You can go around to your computer and you look that number up in the concordance and
That's the original.
Okay, I think.
it's a moment, invisible atom of time. That's what it means in the Greek concordance, right? 8:22, 8:23. And Asherah. But you can also look at the star directly overhead.
Don't start. I've got to save this first bit.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Let me point something out
Oh.
to you. The camera's going.
Okay, all right. Save this.
Attention to detail, my dear. That's what it's all about. You've got to pay attention to everything around you, what's going on. Because if you don't, you'll miss the angelic signs. Now, often things would happen at, all out of the blue. Getting back to these bloody dogs. Psalms talks about the prophecy of Jesus, and that is, dogs have compassed me about, and so help me. No matter where I go, there's this bloody mutt next door, yodeling on with a most horrendous scream. A scream, you never heard anything like it. Like when we first heard it, we thought it was coming from bloody hundreds of metres away, didn't we?
And it sounded human, like somebody was being sacrificed.
It sounded like it was someone being sacrificed. So we're on alert here, what the hell's going on, right? But as it turns out, it's this bloody mutt next door. And then there's other mongrel on the other side, right? Now, I like dogs, don't get me wrong. Right?
What about Bella? Toowoomba.
Yeah, don't remind me. Well, the point is, no matter where I go, there's these unusual things that happen with dogs. And it gets to the point where we might be recording a show like this, and there'll be dogs arguing and carrying on out the front. This is a quiet little village in the middle of northern Australia. There they are. So, are you back on track now?
Getting there. Now,
How long does it take to save a file and start it again?
well, it takes a few minutes, because now it's saved. Okay.
All right, we're talking about the...
Yes, go on, it's recording.
how come it's not showing up?
Because...
Well, it's not
if I'm
recording,
getting-
what is it?
There it is.
Oh, right. Okay, so, while these dogs are yodeling around in Italy, we end up buying a small... Now, that's a strange thing. You couldn't do this in any other country, I suppose, but they had the sports shop there, and you could go and buy a CO2 or spring-loaded pistol that looks exactly like... If you walked into a bank with it, they would certainly hand over the money, put it that way. There was lifelike Berettas and Colt 45s and you name it, hanging in the window. And when I went in there, I said, look, I want something to frighten the dogs, right? Because the idea is to go and put a can up on the fence, and when the dogs start howling, just to fire a few slugs into this can, right? Well, as it turned out, these are 6mm, like same as a bullet, and a little steel bullets you can buy, or plastic. Well, the plastic one was good because you can sting the dog in the arse and they'd take a run, right? Or you can get the steel bullet, which would enter it hit with such force that it would injure the dog. So I thought, you can't do that, right? So I started to practice shooting because I was in a pistol club years ago, and I was getting to be quite a good shot with a pistol. And so you can imagine, say, go out the front of your house across the road, say 30, 40 metres, there'd be a can or something there that I'd fire the steel pellet at and hit it, and it would make the sound, right, and frighten the dogs, and off they'd go, right? That's what I'm trying to point out is that no matter where we've been, there's dogs surrounding me. It is extraordinary, to say the least. And I was starting to get the shits with it. I felt like shooting the bloody dogs after a while, but because you can't do that, can you? But with a little plastic BB, well, from that distance, by the time I got the dog, the velocity had slowed down and was just enough to frighten them. Right? So I'd give them a belt with one of those, and they'd sort of look up and then take off, right? So they got used to the sound of me opening a window ready to shoot bastards, right? So off they'd go. But that's what we put up with in Italy, 5 dogs. Now, what I found amazing was that the neighbours and the people in the house that owned the house where we were at, put up with it. They're so nice. Right? Well, I'm about as nice as a fart in a christening. Right? I get pissed off, that's it. So there is a bit of a message there. I'm pissed off with the world, and I have no problem switching it off. Now, when a pope turns around and recognises for the first time in recorded history, Christ is back. Yet, the Antichrist that came shortly afterwards, after the conclave, was held after the Pope had recognised me. And they had a meeting after he was elected. And basically I said, whoever walks out of the conclave is going to be the Antichrist. Well, of course, that's what happened. And that's what Francis is. Now, Francis himself is a Jesuit, which, if you don't know, Google the Jesuit oath and read it. It's a long, lengthy oath that they swear that is so appalling that it is totally Talmudic Jewish in origin, that no sane human being could ever dream up such an abomination of an oath that every Jesuit who is a priest, Jesuit priest, and there's 18,000 of them or more around the world, and here's this bastard that is now the Pope, who has sworn an oath that he would take a knife and tear open the womb of a woman, haul the baby out, and then smash its head against a wall. That is the oath of a Jesuit. Now, that is going to be eliminated off the face of the planet, and everyone with it. The soul is that there is a warning in the New Testament, and it says, fear him that can destroy both body and soul in hell. Now, what more dire circumstances could exist where these Jesuits and Jews with a Talmud that all originated in Babylon are now remember what I'm saying, fear him that can kill both body and soul in hell, right? And I've just told you that's what I'm going to do. That these are reincarnated souls from the past that bring back the demons with them, and they accumulate, so you get 7 chances to get it right. Many have taken 2 chances to get it right. These are your saints, or one, so it's even higher on the sainthood, if you like, the elders. Then everyone else who hasn't got it right, keep on reincarnating, and you become a greater bastard than you were before. So these souls now are totally demonised. So the soul is the little child that starts off, and then is demonised by the devils that are waiting to inhabit them throughout their lifetime. And this is what reincarnation is all about. So you can, of free will, cast out these demons or become worse. Now, in this modern age, there's all the temptations that the Jews have invented through Hollywood and television and pornography and drugs and cell phones that beam radiation into your head. But there's a fellow that's on the internet, he's a Finnish electrician that worked. Now, electricians are particularly smart when it comes to the trades. The electricians are your smart people. And he was an electrician who worked in a nuclear reactor. And he noticed that over time, all of his buddies were coming down with cancers and dying, and very few reached, well, none, he said, reached retirement. So he decided to get out of it and become a advocate for banning nuclear energy. But he's a particularly smart fellow, and he was talking about Fukushima and how all of the nuclear plants that have been built around the world run at a loss. In other words, it's so expensive a operation, yet there is over 500 of them throughout the world. And Albert Einstein, on his deathbed, talked about nuclear facilities, and he said there's no alternative, but it will kill everybody. That's what Albert Einstein came up with. Now, remember, we talked about Albert Einstein before, and although he was taught the Bible and the Talmud, he went to a Catholic school as a child, and his parents were not particularly religious, right? Because they were smart, which evident by Albert Einstein. And he was enthralled by, at the age of 32, he got hold of a Bible and decided to read about Jesus, because he hadn't been taught in the Catholic school, though he went to school all his young education life in a Catholic school. He learned nothing about Jesus. That's got to tell you that the church, I did the same thing, because I went to a Catholic school for half my education. Well, I didn't have any education at all, except learning what homosexuality was all about. And he was enthralled by the Nazarene, the luminous figure. Now, that's what should be taught and will be taught in the world to come. But as I say, everything's preordained. I'm here to do what I've done and be recognised by a Pope, and that's one little shining light in my life and the world of the young, to see that the old man has actually come to the earth to destroy and to save at the same time. So you've got some letters there to read?
Well, yes.
Just pick one at random.
We'll read here. This is from Francis after.
What was the headline on it?
Father Giuseppe Ciavello and Sister Maria della Rosa arrested April the 3rd, 2013. Because of the time difference, it was in the morning here, but it was still April the 3rd there. There was 8 hours behind. I thought it was April the 2nd, but it's not. Hello, these are the inspectors of Pope Francis. This is an update requested by Giuseppe Ciavello when asked for any final requests as a Catholic priest. The following updates are occurring at this moment. 1. This email no longer belongs to the Pope Emeritus and will be deleted permanently after this update message is sent. 2. Giuseppe Civello is no longer a Catholic priest and has been relocated. We are not telling you where he is. Number 3, Sister Maria della Rosa is still a Catholic nun but has been moved to a convent outside of Italy. We are not saying where she is exactly. 4, Archbishop George has sworn not to speak a word of you and is forced not to listen to what you say. 5, the new pontifical household will consist of Pope Francis' former investigators. They are not priests and will tend to his needs. Along with only a few nuns, he will have no contact with any of you. 6, Monsignor Giovanni Rossini is no longer a Catholic Monsignor priest and has been relocated for sending in Christum Credent. We are not saying where he is. Then many thanks with the coat of arms of Francesco. So that was April the 3rd, the anniversary of the crucifixion, and then we were sent a notice of the death of Giuseppe on April the 13th. He was taken to Sicily, a house in Sicily where he was with a friend of his, had been moved in at the same time. They were both actually under house arrest, watched by the thugs hired by Francis. No, it was Georg Ganswain who organised all of this, as it turns out. Sister Maria della Rosa did leave the convent. I have read the letter once before, called Good Morning Francis. It was read in December before we left Italy. The Sister Maria described the events of that night, and indeed it was Georg Ganswain who opened the door to the 5.
Have you got the letter? Can you find it?
The Maria letter, it is, it'll take a bit for me to find it. I know where I can get it.
So what we've done here is just, with the computer, where you save the letter into Word, for example, and then save that onto a hard drive outside your computer.
3 minutes left.
No matter, keep going, read it.
All right, this is Maria Anna della Rosa. You probably remember me as Sister Maria. Sister della Rosa, if you don't recall who I am, I must then jog your memory. I used to be an aide to His Holiness Benedict XVI, the Pope Emeritus. I knew him ever since he moved to Rome as a cardinal under Pope John Paul II. I took care of his residence and office when he was chosen to be prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, a very important position. I heard about you, Lord, and your reincarnation into earth back in March of this year. Father Giuseppe Civello, an aide to the pontifical household, had told me about you and who you were once the Pope Emeritus acknowledged the good news. That, I must say, had to be the happiest time of my life. I unfortunately no longer aid the Pope Emeritus. I was fired, along with all the clerics involved in the communications between you and His Holiness, except for Archbishop Georg Ganswain, who remained aiding the Pope Emeritus and acting as prefect of the pontifical household for the new Pope Francis. I hope that jogged your memory. This happens all the time. I hope that jogged your memory if you have forgotten, as I know the Christ must care for so many people of his pastoral flock. I know you may have questions that are due to be answered since the fiasco in April, so I will respond to them. What happened on April the 3rd, 2013, when Pope Francis had secretly fired the Pope Emeritus's staff and had kept the Pope Emeritus hostage in his home at Castel Gandolfo. This is the story from my perspective. Let's finish it here and do another recording.
No,
ready?
keep going.
Okay. It was late at night and I was doing the laundry in the basement when I heard that the arrangement to announce to the world the truth of Christ via television was suddenly cancelled. Father Giuseppe had told me that Pope Francis had asked his own secretary, Monsignor Alfred Zurab, to make that clear to RAI TV. When I got upstairs to the Pope Emeritus' office, he was on the phone getting upset, his face red. I had never seen him so angry before. We had actually made a pre-recording of the announcement once the Pope Emeritus' apostolic letter had been sent to Monsignor Rossini. When Pope Benedict had resigned from the papacy, he promised the world to show a live television broadcast of the Shroud of Turin. Once he had understood you were the Christ, he made arrangements to make the announcement right after that broadcast. I will reveal the parts I remember from that announcement. Pope Francis instead made his own type of recording talking about some useless deal. Anyway, when Pope Benedict was getting upset over the phone, I prayed about it, asking you why this was to happen. As I finished my prayer, RAI TV had hung up on the Pope Emeritus, which made him extremely frustrated. Father Giuseppe was trying to calm him down and talk to him. Then I had been asked to get him some water. The kitchen was downstairs, so I opened the fridge to find him a water bottle. Then I hear banging from the rear entrance to the papal household. I didn't open it. Instead, I asked who it was and asked them to stop banging. Only private personnel are allowed even to be in the Vatican gardens, where the rear entrance was. It was a man at the door who said, "This is a private work, issued by Pope Francis." I found that odd. Why would Francis even send anyone to see Benedict? He himself thought Benedict was crazy for believing in the returned Christ. So I told them, which would have cost me my job anyway, to go away because Benedict wasn't in the mood to see anyone, especially at that time in the day. So they left. Soon after, I hear a light tap on the door as I was bringing the finished laundry upstairs. I asked who it was, and the guy said, "Archbishop George." The voice was his, so I made the biggest mistake of my entire life. I opened the door for that traitor. Then he comes in and holds the door so that 5 men dressed in black can run upstairs to the Pope Emeritus's office. I hear fighting from the upstairs and try to stop them from harming anyone, especially the Pope. Archbishop George stops me from warning everyone upstairs that he is a traitor and whispered into my ear, "You're going to be Maltese now, sister." This indicated I was going to be transferred to Malta, which I will explain further in this letter. Then 2 carabinieri take me out in the back into a police car and drive me away to a heliport without even saying a last goodbye to the Pope Emeritus or Father Giuseppe, whom I never saw since that night. When we arrived at the Vatican, they dropped me off at the papal heliport, the same used to bring Pope Benedict to Castel Gandolfo when he resigned. If you look at the coverage of Benedict arriving in Castel Gandolfo, you will see a heliport with greenery that is not far from the Pope's residence. This took me to an area in Rome I was unfamiliar with. There was a small jet waiting for me there, and that took me to Valletta, Malta. On the flight to Valletta, they forced a pill down my throat, which made me fall into a sleep so deep it lasted for hours and hours. Then I woke up at a convent in Valletta with a bunch of other nuns who spoke only Maltese and English. I never had a chance to speak my native language of Italian for a while. The rest of my time there I will explain in order after the major questions are finished being answered. What do I remember from Pope Emeritus Benedict's official announcement broadcast? I just remember a bit. The announcement, of course, was chosen to be in Latin, the language of the Church, just as his resignation announcement was. The beginning was something like this: "Dear brothers and sisters," he went on saying how he met you, etc. "I announce to you a great joy. The Messiah, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Christ Jesus has returned since the 11th of January, taking the name of Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. Worship him, love him. I remember he showed the image he received of your face and the Shroud of Turin. He then introduced his apostolic letter, and then the announcement ended with the Latin prayer he wrote for the Universal Church, reflecting you. I pray that prayer every hour I am awake. After the announcement, every video you uploaded on YouTube since you met the Pope Emeritus was scheduled to be broadcast as well. I wish it would have worked out. Instead of the media revealing the truth by the Pope's words, they cover it up by whatever means necessary. A continuation of the situation in Valletta. I lived in Valletta since the late evening of April the 3rd till early morning of June 15th, 2013. I continued my work as a nun living in a convent. As soon as I had fully understood what had happened to me, and as soon as I had come to terms with it, I decided I didn't want to be a nun anymore. I decided that I didn't want to live under the fake church of lies and falsehood which Pope Francis is starting to invent. I didn't want that. I wanted you, the true Christ, reincarnated. On June the 10th, I sent a letter to my new Mother Superior, a very nice lady who didn't know about the situation I was in, but understood people and their emotions. She accepted my letter, and I left the religious life 4 days later, leaving Malta a day after that. I moved to Mobile, Woodbury County, Iowa, in the USA. Nobody would ever suspect that I was there. Because Pope Francis is sexist, he probably thought that I wouldn't need any guards watching me because I'm a harmless, fat nun. Why would I need anyone to watch me? Think again, asshole. I lived there in Mobile from June 16th to October 20th, 2013. And I had just recently moved into a bigger town of Sioux City. I lived in Mobile and prayed constantly there. I helped the poor and started a small organisation called Saved Under Brian Foundation. Our mission was to pray for Brian Marshall to save humanity and to save the church, and also to help lower the poverty rate in our area. The group was forced to end because we had no permit to collect money from people in order to help our cause, as I was told we were to have one by locals. So when I moved to Sioux City, I had access to a computer from my neighbour. I used it only to watch your videos on YouTube. I have learned all of what you have taught, and so I decided to handwrite this letter so that my neighbour could send it to you via her email address, because I don't know how to use email very well. Giuseppe Ciavello, dead or not, Monsignor Rossini. I have learnt about what happened to Giuseppe through your YouTube videos. Giuseppe, from what I recall, actually does have a friend named Raniero Calvo who lives in Pacino, Sicily. I don't think it was him sending you messages though. I'm not sure of what parts are real and what parts aren't from that story. I don't know if Giuseppe is still alive, even though I hope he is. Unfortunately, I might assume he's dead, given the situation he was in. Monsignor Rossini, I have never met before in my life. He was a friend of Giuseppe, not me. I have no idea where he is, but I'm curious to know why you, Christ, do not know where he is, with all due respect. The Pope Emeritus is alive. I know you will protect him always. So in conclusion, I wish all the best for you in your mission to save the world. I'm thinking of moving to a bigger city just in case Pope Francis is out searching for me. If you decide to read this publicly via YouTube, they probably will try to find me and kidnap me. but I always have faith in your immaculate protection and care. If you decide not to, I ask that you please tell your apostles that I love them and pray for them, and Mother Mary also. Lord Jesus, please know that I love you and I pray in your holy name always. Lord, I request one thing from you. As I taught the poor and the children in my area about you, they made a request to one day see this. Many other people also talked about this too. The most spectacular thing to see would be the Lord Jesus Christ celebrating Holy Mass. The Holy Mass of all time would be Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall celebrating it. Would it be possible for you to celebrate Holy Mass filmed so it can go on the computer for all humanity to see? It would be so beautiful. I tear up just imagining it. Can you please make it possible? It would also be a symbol of hope and joy, a symbol of peace and love. It would be glorious. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall is God. Amen. With love, Maria Anna Della Rosa, Friday, October 25th, 2013.
October 25th.
Yes.
That was the date my nephew was shot dead in 2002 when we put together a cancer clinic in Melbourne. And I received a phone call from a senator's secretary from Canberra, the nation's capital. Asked me if I was Christ. I said yes. And he then said, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, those above us will kill you. And I said, well, I've been trying for a long time. I'm not worried about that. So that's just another phase of the demonstration that even the Australian government is totally corrupt. And no politician that was around at the time would not have known who I was, because I had written them a letter sent to them that was bounced back to 300 and some odd of the politicians throughout Australia. So I then arranged for it to be sent from Michigan City in Chicago, near Chicago, and my friends there sent it, and it got through to all of the politicians, because ASIO, which is basically the Australian arm of the CIA, headed up by a Jew, of course, and had stopped all the communications that I was sending out. And indeed, all our communications are very, very suspect. YouTube comments and so forth never get through. And it managed to outsmart them by being sent from Michigan City in the US. Now that lady, Connie Becker, she's also disappeared. So
we've had others disappear too once they found us. Kelly Merkel.
Kelly Merkel was coming out to stay with us. Apparently her family's wealthy, and she had asked us how she could transfer the sale of the proceeds of her house to Australia, and we had discussed that with her, but
told her
to keep
it, buy gold.
Buy gold, something.
But anyway, she ended up being taken away, committed into a mental asylum. She was there for a week, and then they cleared her, which means that they can't arrest her again. She got a message through to us that she was coming, and wanted to know where she could join us. But she had just been released from the asylum, and she was still drugged up, because as you know, they give them all kinds of drugs. So I told her to call back after she got over, had some sleep and got over the drugs. Well, she didn't, and she completely disappeared off the face of the earth. So who knows? I mean, that could have been an entire setup too. Things are so bizarre around us. One man who was here and went back to the USA, he was detained and questioned for extensively all he did was tell them, well, Yahweh's back. So it is very weird.
Yep.
We have to finish because Joel needs to process this.
All right. Okay.
And,
So hasta la vista.
Yes, it's over. Just go.
So I'll just take the camera off of here and let's go outside, show you our little pooch. Who, got a lot of jumping about, don't you? Eh? Yeah. Yeah. You like chasing the ducks, don't you? There they are. This is basically a developer, a golfer, I believe, sportsman, with lots of money, deep pockets, as they say. And he developed all this, and people bought Lakeshore and built lovely houses around here. It's very peaceful and quiet for the most part, except for the yappy dogs next door. So there's our home there. It's a double-storey place, as you see, and we've had the police come here, detectives wanting to search the property and all sorts of things like that while we were in Italy. And you've got to think about it. There's not too many houses where you'd find where detectives would come to the front door wanting to search your house. Right? This is the kind of bizarre thing that happens now. The average person, those people living next door, any of those around there, none, zero, know who I am. Lovely people next door, lovely house. Just show you the style of, oh there, that little hole there, we have a snake that pops up now and then. Deadly, but you leave them alone, they won't hurt you. And there's the lovely house next door. Lovely people. Very, very large house actually. So there's another one being built over there. Now, through the gap of the trees here, about there and straight up every night is Kachina. And it's the most beautiful sight. I have uploaded it, maybe we can attach it to this video. And we've got the equipment now. I'll mount a camera similar to this on a telescope which tracks the stars, and that star is not part of the catalogue of 4,000 stars where it should be, but it's not in it. So in other words, it indicates that the two that we've been tracking are not part of the star system that's in the computer. So I pump the water from the lake up into these big huge tanks, These are the dumbest idea of all time. What it is these two huge tanks, which cost a lot of money to set up for plumbers. And plumbers, they work at $100 an hour, something ridiculous. And that's only for flushing the toilet, doing the washing of the clothes. Now, how dumb is that? There it is there where it comes out, tank water or rainwater. So it collects the rain. So all of the chemtrails, we have an enormous amount of chemtrails. There's none today, amazingly. And it falls down on the roof. All right. Comes down and then into the tank. So this is not the water we want to collect, as you might expect. So I've diverted that so the water runs straight out onto the drain. So we're not getting these chemicals from above. And what you do is, just for your own sake, there's a pump there, and you see that bit of tape. Well, they're heavy magnets I've placed either side of it, so that any chemical that's coming through is going to have a charge, either a negative or a positive, and you put a magnet on either side, and that'll pull the chemical to one side. We also put them on the tanks themselves, and very heavy magnets, and that pulls all of the material so that it accumulates on the magnet as opposed to going into your system. So, we'll go back inside. My little doggy has got, for some reason or other, starting to dig. If anyone knows why, maybe you could tell me. How you doing there, little sausage?
Not sure.
You're not sure? You're trying to join it up, are you?
No.
Did you screen capture it after all that?
No.
There is something that you must agree to. When I say screen capture, I mean screen capture.
Right.
It's not negotiable.
Yeah. Okay. I got confused.